The Galactic Council's emergency session had lasted 14 rotations. Representatives from 100 worlds crowded the crystalline amphitheater, their varied forms creating a tapestry of scales, chitinous armor, and flowing energy patterns. At the center of their heated debate stood a single holographic display: Earth. "The humans have rejected our ultimatum," announced High Arbiter Vexthor, his four arms gesturing at the blue-green world spinning slowly before them. They refused to surrender their weapons and submit to galactic law. A chorus of clicks, hisses, and harmonic tones filled the chamber, the universal language of disbelief. The humans had been discovered barely 50 cycles ago, a primitive species that had only just achieved faster-than-light travel. Yet somehow they had managed to repel 3 separate pacification fleets sent by the Council. "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Kretax from the Hive Collective, his mantis-like head tilting thoughtfully, "we have underestimated their technology?" "Impossible," rumbled General Morgath of the War Clans. His massive, stone-like form dominated his section of the amphitheater. "Our scouts confirm they still use projectile weapons and chemical propulsion. Their ships are held together with metal alloys we mastered millennia ago." High Arbiter Vexthor raised a hand for silence. "The Council has deliberated. We will invoke the right of single combat. If the humans can defeat our chosen champion in individual battle, they will be granted full membership and left in peace. If they lose," he paused dramatically, "total subjugation." The choice of champion was unanimous. Karthek the Worldbreaker had never known defeat. Standing 12 feet tall with 4 arms, each capable of crushing steel, he was covered in biometallic scales that could deflect plasma bolts. His species had evolved on a world where the gravity was 3 times that of most inhabited planets, and Karthek was considered exceptional even among his own kind. The human response came within hours. They accepted. 3 days later, Karthek stood in the designated combat arena on the moon of Proxima 7th. The Council had assembled in orbital observation stations, their sensors recording every detail for galactic broadcast. Billions of beings across the known galaxy watched as the human transport ship landed. What emerged confounded everyone present. The human was small, barely 6 feet tall, with pale skin and brown hair. He wore simple cloth garments and carried no visible weapons or armor. In his hands he held a wooden stick, roughly 5 feet in length, worn smooth by use. "Where are your weapons?" Karthek rumbled, his voice carrying easily across the arena floor. He had expected powered armor, energy shields, perhaps some exotic human technology that had given them their surprising victories. The human, who had introduced himself simply as Jack, hefted the stick and smiled. "Right here." Karthek's confusion was shared by every observer. The stick appeared to be nothing more than carved wood, perhaps with metal tips on each end. Primitive beyond belief. "This is some joke," Karthek snarled. "The Council mocks me with this savage." Jack's smile never wavered. "Whenever you're ready, big guy," the Worldbreaker charged. Karthek had fought champions from 100 worlds. He had crushed the plasma knights of Zephyria, shattered the crystal golems of Arcturus Prime, and torn apart the void hunters of the Dark Nebula. His strategy was simple: use his overwhelming size and strength to end fights quickly. But as his massive fist descended toward the human, something impossible happened. Jack wasn't there anymore. The human had moved, not with the blinding speed of a Zenari assassin or the teleportation abilities of the phase wraiths, but with something far more unnerving. He had simply stepped aside at precisely the right moment, as if he had known exactly where the attack would land. The wooden stick struck Karthek's wrist with surgical precision, hitting a nerve cluster the alien didn't even know he possessed. His hand went instantly numb. "Pressure points," Jack explained conversationally, already moving as Karthek's second arm swept toward him. "Every species we've encountered has them. You're actually pretty similar to the Rigelians we fought last month." The stick flowed like water in Jack's hands, striking points on Karthek's massive form that sent waves of pain and temporary paralysis through the alien's body. But it wasn't just the attacks, it was the way the human moved. He seemed to anticipate every assault, turning Karthek's overwhelming strength into a liability as the massive alien overbalanced and stumbled. "Impossible," breathed General Morgath from his observation post. "Our champion has trained for 300 cycles. How can this primitive—" "He's not primitive," interrupted Dr. Yilnara, the Council's chief xenobiologist. Her tentacles writhed with excitement as she analyzed the combat data. Look at the neural activity readings. The human isn't just reacting. He's reading micro-expressions, anticipating movement patterns, calculating trajectory and force vectors in real time. His brain is processing combat data at a rate that rivals our most advanced tactical computers. On the arena floor, Karthik was growing desperate. None of his attacks connected, while the human stick found its mark with every strike. The wooden weapon shouldn't have been able to penetrate his biometallic scales. Yet somehow the human found the gaps, the weak points, the exact angles where kinetic force could be transferred most effectively. Your species evolved as pursuit predators, didn't you? Jack asked, ducking under another wild swing. The stick snapped up, striking a nerve cluster under Karthik's jaw. We call it persistence hunting. Run your prey to exhaustion, then move in for the kill. Karthik stumbled, his vision blurring. The human had done something to his inner ear, disrupting his balance. The thing is, Jack continued, dancing around the increasingly sluggish alien, humans are persistence predators too, but we developed something else along the way. The stick struck 3 points in rapid succession: shoulder, knee, neck. Karthik collapsed to one knee. We learned to read our prey, to predict behavior, to turn their own strengths against them. The final strike was almost gentle. Jack's stick touched a specific point at the base of Karthik's skull, and the mighty Worldbreaker toppled forward, unconscious before he hit the ground. Silence filled the arena and the observation stations. Across the galaxy, billions of beings stared in shock at their screens. Jack planted his stick in the ground and leaned on it casually. So, he called up to the observation stations, about that membership. High Arbiter Vexthor found his voice first. How? He is our strongest warrior. Your weapon is a stick, Jack agreed cheerfully. 5 feet of good earth oak with steel tips for balance. Been in my family for 6 generations. My great-great-grandfather carried it in something we called World War III. But the technology, sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Jack interrupted. You've all gotten so focused on energy weapons and powered armor that you forgot the basics: leverage, timing, reading your opponent. He patted his stick affectionately. Plus, this thing's got one major advantage over all your fancy tech. Which is? Vexthor asked, dreading the answer. Jack's grin was sharp as a blade. It never runs out of ammunition. As Karthik was carried away on a medical stretcher, still unconscious, the Galactic Council began the paperwork for humanity's full membership. They also quietly issued new tactical guidelines to all member worlds. Never underestimate a species' primitive weapons. Sometimes the most dangerous opponents were the ones who had never forgotten how to fight with their hands. And somewhere in the observation deck, Dr. Yilnara was already drafting her report. Human Combat Doctrine, a study in applied violence. It would become required reading at every military academy in the galaxy. The humans, it seemed, had been fighting each other for so long that the rest of the galaxy was woefully unprepared for what they could do to aliens.